Good morning. Coffee. Connect streaming software to go live. I thought I did. Let's see if I'm live. Ugh. You wouldn't even know I had my hair done yesterday because that's Florida for you. It's freaking hot. It's that time of year though. Next 90 days, well, not really 90, 60 days or so. Looks like I'm live. I just happened to reading somebody's name, Nita the Buckeye. Good morning. Happy Friday. How is everybody doing today? Good morning, Holly. Holly, I actually emailed you. I'm not sure if you got it yet because I know that you signed up for the Jumpstart and I sent you an email about the accelerator that you are in for the accelerator and I didn't hear back from you. So hopefully you got that. I hope that you are having an amazing start to the weekend. Who is watching the CrossFit games? My gosh. I'm going to be the girl that's playing catch up because that's what I like to do. I like to just do it like on my zone 2 training and stuff like that. I'll be honest though, it's kind of shitty that we didn't get to really watch a lot of the Masters unless you have the Flow Elite, but I understand why, right? Like you got to make some money off of it, which honestly, we should be happily spending some money to watch the amazing feats of fitness that these Masters athletes are about to perform or did perform, I should say. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and roll right into it today, guys. I don't want to get off on tangents right now. I have just been having so much vision right now. In fact, funny enough, I had the opportunity to potentially grow my business to a 7-figure business this year. And I turned down the opportunity for a number of reasons why. One of the reasons really being that I am still very attached to my clients and wanting to be the coach in the trenches and wanting to be the person that answers all of my messages, just wanting to still be in my business, not just being the one that's leading a business. And the opportunity would have really meant me stepping into that role. I don't want to have like a large team of coaches that I have to micromanage. I want people to get results. And I just find that the larger companies tend to dilute a lot of that. And so I just wasn't really feeling in alignment with what I wanted. And why I'm saying this is because in this process of this, I have also really been getting crystal clear on what exactly it is I want to help women and men with as well, because I do have some male clients. I get that question. Do you work with males too? Yes, but the majority of the women that I work with are females. In fact, I will tell you this though. The men in my community get so much props from the women in my community because they're few and far between. Very few. I get for like every 3 or 4 women, I'll get like 1 man. So it's like probably like a 25 to 75% ratio. But one of the things I am just really passionate about, and it's hard because I feel like there's a stigma around it, right? Like we shouldn't be so fat loss focused. There's more to life than your body comp. Well, you know what? It sucks when you're going to the gym and you're spending $200 a month on a CrossFit membership and you're still lifting the same barbell, still can't do any of the skills, and you still wake up every single morning unhappy with how you look in the mirror, right? And the reason that is because all the things you try and do with your nutrition are failing you and they feel too hard and you can't stay consistent and you blame yourself. And I am very passionate about taking that person who is showing up at the gym, whether it's CrossFit, High Rocks, a regular traditional gym, whatever it is, you are showing up and you're not getting the return on your effort. I want to help you with bridging that gap in a way that shows you what you're doing wrong and how to make things easier for you. And today's episode honestly was a little bit of my reflection of myself and what really shifted for me, because that was me at one point. There was me a couple of times in my life when I was younger. I had dabbled with so many different diets. I went down the different, I took diet pills. I did different diet trends and I would do that same like, oh, I'm going to lose 5 pounds and I'm going to fizzle out and go back to do what I was doing before. I did that for so long, finally locked in, started CrossFit. And honestly, like I gained weight. I gained weight because I was not eating for how I was training. It was a completely different animal. And the CrossFit methodology, while the nutrition advice is great for somebody who is coming from a very deranged diet. So like think about the person that's drinking Mountain Dew for breakfast. They're stopping at McDonald's. They're eating pizza for dinner every single day. You tell that person, all right, we're just going to remove all that shit and we're going to get you working out. Guess what? That person's palate's going to change. They're going to start to make better choices. So that nutrition advice was great for that person. And what was Greg Glassman's vision, right? It was getting people off the couch, breaking the obesity, epidemic, and getting people healthy. But you are already healthy, right? You're at a place right now where like you are healthy. You're showing up to the gym, you're doing the things, and you want more for yourself. You want to be that top 5% of the world or top 0.05% of the world where you actually show up with confidence with yourself. And I say that even if you do have a considerable amount of weight to lose, because maybe you're hearing this and you're like, yeah, well, I still need to work on that stuff too. You can work on that stuff, but why is that stuff hard for you, right? We have a couple of things we're going to talk about today that really shifted in me that helped me finally get down to the root of why I wasn't making changes. All right. So first and foremost, before I get into that, okay, let's just talk about why the gym is so much easier than the food. Okay. The gym commitment is easier than the food commitment because you're seeing the other benefits from the gym commitment, right? You go to the gym, you have friends you see. It's a little bit of your social outlet. So, because there's one benefit. You go to the gym and you feel good. You feel leaner. You feel lighter after you leave there, right? You like the way that workout makes you feel. It gives you more productivity in life. You've built out a routine where the gym has become something you look forward to or show up to every single day, whether it's on your drive home or it's what you do first thing in the morning. It's just part of your natural cadence in life. It's become something that you see worth in pursuing on a daily basis, even if your progress is stalled. If you don't, put another pound on your back squat, you still show up every day because you like the way back squatting makes you feel, right? You show up for that reason. Why is it so much harder with nutrition? Maybe you've already made those big changes in your food, right? You're no longer drinking Mountain Dew for breakfast. You're actually eating enough protein. You're building balanced meals. You've built a strategy that allows you to live a healthy life, right? Being healthy is not necessarily going to get you leaner or fitter. It doesn't mean that getting leaner or fitter or losing body fat needs to be done in an unhealthy way. In fact, that is not what I promote. But it does mean that you have to realize that that is a specific goal. Just like going back to the gym, if there's a difference between going to the gym and showing up and checking the boxes that you hit your back squat, you got to 80%, you feel good about that, and then making the decision like, all right, for the next 12 weeks, I really want to work on a back squat cycle because I want to add 20 pounds to my back squat, right? One person's going to just squat whenever it comes up and be okay with that. The other person's like, let me find a squat program. Let me get consistent with this squat program. I want to see what I can achieve over the next 12 weeks to get that squat up, right? It's the same thing with fat loss. It's why fat loss should also be a season of your life, because just like with that back squat, you can't just keep pushing to keep PRing your back squat, because your body's going to hit a limit and you're going to end up plateau, or you're going to get injured, right? So we have that same thing happening with food. You've developed a maintenance plan, but you've never actually gotten to a place where you went all in on the fat loss strategy. And that strategy might look different depending on how much weight you have to lose. And that's why I'm saying like 10 to 20 pounds here, because even if you had 100 pounds to lose, you should be breaking your journey up into like 15 to 20 pound increments. It doesn't mean that you have to take scheduled breaks. It's just knowing that that's about the time when you're going to start to need to maybe have a little bit of a break based on feedback. Okay. So you're in maintenance mode. You've built the habits. You've got the structure. You've got the routine. It's like, I can stay here and be comfortable. I'm comfortable just staying here. Even though I'm not happy, I'm comfortable here. This is manageable for me. It's tolerable. Okay. You're also not eating for the type of training you're doing. And this is likely why changing is hard. Okay. It's really hard to be consistent when you're trying to apply nutrition principles that don't apply to the type of lifestyle that you're living and the type of training that you're doing. Okay. So if you're showing up at the gym 4 to 6 days a week, you're walking, you're doing your steps, maybe you're not doing that, but you're doing like double sessions, you're doing extra cardio, you're doing extra skills, you're doing extra strength. You're putting in all this effort and you're like looking at calories and macros built for somebody that's just doing 4 sets of 10 bicep curls, right? Like it's a very different strategy. Or you're looking at the nutrition strategies built for those people that are in that category of they've got so much weight to lose that they like any little thing is going to create change, right? You're using the wrong strategy. You need a strategy built for you. In fact, I had a conversation with somebody this week who she's like, you know what? I lost 25 pounds postpartum and it came off easy. Now I'm at a place where I can't lose this weight and I don't want to stop working out in order to do that. I'm like, what in the world? Why are you thinking that you have to stop working out to lose weight? Because of this problem right here. People don't understand how to regulate the appetite and energy and also lose body fat, okay? These are more of the practical things. But I want to get into the real reason why you cannot commit to fat loss, why you are still in this situation of I'm not committed. Whether you have 100 pounds to lose or it's that last 10 to 20 pounds that you know is making you feel insecure in your body. It's showing up every time you see a photo of yourself, or every time you take your shirt off at the gym, or every time you put a bathing suit on, or every time you button your pants, they don't fit right. Okay. That was me. I was you. I had the same exact issue. And yes, I can talk about all of the excuses I was making for myself. Everything I was reading about, at that time was about leaky gut and inflammation and insulin resistance. And you got to regulate the blood sugar and the foods. And it was just so much around that. And following the zone diet, which is all about balancing your blood sugar and eating every 4 hours. Everything was so much about that stuff. Okay. It was avoiding the one thing, but the real one thing I could talk about was really honestly calorie balance, but that wasn't the really reason why I was not following through, why I was not committed to fat loss. Okay. The real reason why is I did not fully have trust in my abilities or my plan. I did not have trust in either of those things. I had been so insecure in my body for so long that I did not even think I was I was capable of that. I had spent years training and didn't even know what was underneath the fat that I had put on because I was not confident that I could actually do it. I did not know that I could do it. In fact, one of the reasons why was because I had an eating disorder and I was so afraid of triggering that. And I was so afraid of trying to control things because the only thing I knew was that if I started controlling calories again, I didn't want to end up back where I was. That was one of my fears. But I did not truly have confidence in myself that I could do it. I was doing all of these other things and just not truly addressing the real problem. I was not committed to me. I was not committed to what I wanted for myself. And instead, I made excuses for myself. I did. I made excuses for why. It was, I would validate things that I would do. I was the girl that would, I would track my food Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I would block my meals, but I wasn't tracking the extra protein bar I had, 2 protein bars I had. I wasn't tracking my Saturday night meal out. It was paleo. I was having indulgent meals. In fact, there was times where I was overeating because I was so hungry. I would go all day on these zone blocks and then the evening would come and I'd be so hungry and I'd feel guilty. I was not freaking showing up for myself the way that I was because I wasn't actually confident in the strategy. Honestly, my strategy sucked. So the first thing that I had to do, and I encourage you to do right now, all right, if you're hearing this and you're like, I really want to lock in and I want to commit. I have been searching for something. I have been looking for something that I can follow and I just can't find something. I know because I'm there and I'm still there, not with fat loss. I feel pretty confident in my body now, but in other areas of my life, there's always something that I could get better at. And I'm looking for like the right thing. All right. The first thing you have to do is get crystal clear on the goal you have for yourself. Okay. When I woke up one morning and I said, oh my gosh, you have put on, I had put on about 55 pounds. And part of which was necessary because when I started CrossFit, I had just come out of an eating disorder and I was not even 100 pounds, or I was barely 100 pounds. So I knew I had to gain a little bit of weight. But I had gone far and beyond that. And I was really not confident in my body. And I woke up one morning and I was just like, today's the day that I'm going to take myself seriously. I had to literally get rid of all of the stories I had and the beliefs I had about myself. I had to put confidence in myself that I had control. And I had to get really honest about what I needed to do. And this is where I'm going to tell you, it's so important for you to realize the importance of tracking data. If I could change anything right now, oh my gosh. I don't say I regret any part of my CrossFit journey, but I am so curious as to how much food I was eating when I first started CrossFit. And then as I kind of transitioned, like I know where I was on my dialed in days because I can remember the zone blocks, but I don't know where I was on the days where I was off or when I was not tracking things or paying attention to things. Because at that point, the zone, you weren't tracking things. It was just kind of like you knew your blocks. But I wish I had been tracking food back then. I would love to know how many calories I was consuming because it had to have been a shit ton of calories. And it's funny because that probably would have given me more power than I would have realized. But tracking data is really important. So first and foremost, before I even get into that, you have to get crystal clear on the goal you want for yourself, not just the outcome. How do you want to show up in your life? What are you doing right now that is making you feel insecure? Okay. So for me, I was literally so tired of following fucking zone blocks and limiting my food intake all the time and having to constantly make up for the days that I would be over my calories, even though I wasn't tracking calories. I was tired of like feeling insecure whenever I would see a photo of myself next to the other athletes who were leaner than me. I was just so tired of watching other people seemingly just eat food and order food and not even think about it, but still look amazing. And I was like, why am I this unique snowflake that can't have that? For me, I wanted confidence in my body. I didn't want to make any excuses, but I also wanted to feel good. I was so tired of being on these like plans that were just not meant for me. You know, I was literally eating cleaner than anybody around me. I was wearing the badge of honor for eating a paleo diet, and I was the one gaining weight while everybody else at the table was eating whatever they wanted. Now, don't get me wrong. People in my circle, they weren't CrossFitters when I say that, but they also weren't gaining weight. They weren't losing weight. They weren't changing, but they were happily eating food and had a fine relationship with it and were fine with their bodies. I wanted more for my body because I was putting in the effort, but I also wanted to be like them and be at peace with myself. All right. So what do you actually want? What are you doing right now that's not serving you? For a lot of people, it's showing up in your life and always making excuses because you're worried about pleasing other people. What do you have to let go of? For me, I had to let go of that fear of, is this going to become restrictive and controlling? I had to learn a new way. I think it's really important to actually get crystal clear on the goal. You got to get crystal clear on the goal because you're not going to be the same person on the other side of this. I was an improved person on the other side of my fat loss journey. I was a more confident person. I was more convicted in what I was doing. I was more confident talking about my nutrition. I didn't feel so restricted in my life. You have to ask yourself, what do you want? Where are you not showing up? I was definitely showing up way better when I felt better about my body, when I was actually happy with my body. So what do you actually want for yourself? Okay. Number 2, when you're crystal clear on the goal, okay, I want to lose 15 pounds. I'm going all in on this goal. I'm going all in on this goal. So if it's like 15 pounds, even if you have more than that to lose, okay, commit to the first 15, then reassess. Okay. Just commit to that 15 to 20 pounds and then reassess. All right. Give yourself an opportunity to get there. When you commit, you have to be willing to make the changes, not just for the goal, but for the person you're becoming. Okay. So this means you have to be the person that's like, these are the things I'm not doing or I am doing, and I am ready and willing to change those things because I have a vision for myself on the other side where this no longer controls me or dictates my decisions. That is who you have to become, and that is the changes you have to be willing to make. All right. If you're somebody that's like, I'm too busy to eat throughout the day, my appetite, blah, 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 blah. No bullshit. That is a story you are telling yourself, because you can very easily sip on a protein smoothie. Okay. You can make it happen. If you tell yourself, this is what I fucking want, you can get after it. As somebody who has never been given anything in life, I have worked my ass off for every single thing I have ever gotten. And I am not I was not built off of talent, not at all. I was built off of, let me fuck around and see what happens. That is my entire life to a T, okay? Even going back into my business, I knew I could do what I wanted to do, and I still have that vision. You can do that. You have to be willing to make the changes, okay? For me, I had to say, Cheryl, stop half-ass tracking your food with zone blocks and this and that and blah, blah, blah. Oh, you're weighing out your protein, but you're not weighing. Like, stop doing all this half-ass shit. Track your food and weigh your food out, okay? Like, actually get crystal clear on those two things. Those two things are what I was like, I'm going all in on these two things, because I was already eating a freaking healthy diet. I'll talk about what helped me, why this helped me so much too with that, is I was already eating so healthy. I'm like, all you got to do is freaking lock that in. All right. I was still eating out socially. I was still having my 1 or 2 meals a week, but I was not paying attention to calories or macronutrients. So I was like, all right, I'm going to get crystal clear on this, and I'm going to go all in on these 2 changes. So I went all in on that. All right. What changes do you need to make? I don't know. It could be, it might not be that. It might be that simple for you. But it might be also foundational with that as part of it. Like, you're like, you know what? I'm not making the excuse for why I have to eat, freaking French fries and burgers every time I go out to eat, or why I'm snacking on trail mix all day. I'm not making these excuses anymore for myself. I'm going to commit to 3 meals a day. I'm going to commit to whatever it is you're going to commit to. You are going to have a crystal clear thing. By the way, as I'm talking about this, in my accelerator program, this is exactly the stuff that we're going to get down to, okay? This is the meat and the potatoes of this program. It's not just, oh, let's track your calories and your macros, because guess what? If you're not even freaking eating 3 or 4 meals a day, like, you're going to feel overwhelmed by that. Like, oh my God, I'm literally eating a donut for breakfast, and I'm having coffee for my snack, and I'm having a chocolate bar for lunch. Like, we got a lot more work to do than you focusing on your fucking macros, right? So we got to know where you're at. Okay. You got to be willing to make the changes for the person you're becoming and know what the expectations are and results. I knew for me, when I locked in my food tracking and actually being consistent, I was going to lose weight. I freaking knew it. I knew that if I did that, I would do that. My fear was, am I going to sacrifice my training, my performance? And I didn't. Okay. Because I did this for my training type. And that's what we will talk about in the next. All right. So be willing to make the changes. Guess what? The changes are not going to feel easy. They are easy. They're not going to feel easy. Easy doesn't always mean it feels easy. Okay. It's very easy to open an app and track your food. It's not necessarily, that doesn't feel easy when you've got thoughts about calories and macros and 5 other tabs running in your brain, and you're trying to eat while you're also getting ready for a meeting, and you didn't prep food, and now you have to figure out how to podge a meal together. That's not easy. That is a skill. That becomes easier as you get more resilient to it. In fact, going into CrossFit again, right? CrossFit is not easy. It gets easier to push because you've gotten conditioned to understand what to expect and how to set expectations based off of that. All right. We've got to do the same thing with the goals that you're setting for yourself. You are going to become somebody who no longer has excuses. That is also what builds freaking confidence. Do you think that the results that you get are what's going to make you feel better about yourself? Don't get me wrong. When you look in the mirror and you finally like how you look, you're going to feel happy. But what truly makes you feel happy is that when you wake up and you're like, holy shit, I fucking did it. I woke up, I chose change, and I stayed the course. Like that is what is going to get you results. That is what's going to keep you going. That is what I want you to hear from me today. Okay. Now, last piece. You've gotten crystal clear on your goal. You're ready to change. Okay. You have got to know how to read your body. Okay. This is not, I'm going to find the Precision Nutrition's macro calculator or MyFitnessPal app. Tell me what to eat. And I'm going to follow this diet plan or XYZ. It's none of that. Okay. All of that stuff might work as a template, as a starting place. You have to know how to read your body. Fat loss is not just about eating less. It's not. Changing your body is not just about eating less. Even making improvements in the gym is not always about working harder or pushing harder, right? You have to know how to read your body. This is why I fully believe in intuitively being intentional. All right. You have to understand. I don't believe that intuitive eating is going to get you where you want to be, but I do believe in an intuitive approach to eating in a way for intentional changes or maintenance. Okay. It's not always intuitive for me to wake up and eat breakfast. I'm not always hungry, but I eat intentionally because I know if I don't, I'm going to end up hungry later on. I'm going to end up not being at my calories, and I'm going to end up probably ending up overdoing it later on. I have proof of that from back when I was not eating enough. Okay. Being intuitively intentional means reconnecting with what the internal signals are telling you and not just being a fucking robot on this plan. Okay. When I did this my own way, all right, I didn't use an online calculator. In fact, I don't use calculations even with my clients. So most coaches are going to use like the Harris-Benedict formula, which is great. It's a great way for me to assess about how much a person should be consuming. However, it's rarely very accurate because there's so many factors in it. What is so much more beneficial for you is to stop looking for calculators. Calculators can be good to build trust, but to actually ask yourself, where does my body feel good? And that is why my approach to nutrition is very much about, yes, we're eating mostly clean foods, 80% whole foods, 20%, whatever you want. Okay. You're building balanced meals. You're getting macronutrients at all meals. You're getting some flavor. You're having foods that you enjoy at all of your meals. And the amounts you eat in the beginning are based off of your hunger cues, right? When you go to plate yourself and you're putting the rice in your plate before you're in a calorie deficit, how much are you putting on the plate? Okay. That's what I want you to be thinking. Like, what actually feels like enough for me? How much? So not just skipping butter. If you want butter on your rice, put the butter on your rice, starting with a base plan. And then from there, we're going to adjust based on the goals you have for yourself. Don't get me wrong. Being in a fat loss phase is not going to feel intuitive because you're going against your body's signals, but you have to know how to read your body. I call it like the green, yellow, red, right? Green is like, we're good to go. This is everybody on a Monday morning after you've had an indulgent weekend. You could be in a deficit on Monday because you feel like crap and you're got plenty of calories stored in your body, right? But come Wednesday, if you cut calories too much, what happens? You're hungry again. You're tired, right? It's why you have to know how to read your body. Okay, so you can be green, but if you go red real quickly, that's not what we want. With fat loss, we want to be in that yellow zone most of the time. We want to be in that yellow zone. We're like, yep, I could eat a little bit more, but I also am okay here, right? We're always kind of in that yellow line, and we want to stay there as long as we can to get to our goals. And that's what it truly takes to make a transformation happen. Okay. I could go into the second part of it, which is how do I actually get to a place where I can maintain it? But this starts with, if you approach it this way, you know what happens? You don't want to go back. You're so confident in the changes you've made and the person you've become, you don't want to change anything. In fact, you're more addicted to the life you're living and the strategies that you're using that you don't want to go backwards. You're happy with how you've changed. If you're doing it in a way that also is in line with the life you're living. Now, don't get me wrong. We're going to have to make some sacrifices, right? We're going to have to make decisions sometimes. Like, you know what? I'm not going to choose the chicken wings tonight. I'm going to choose the salad and the grilled chicken because I have fat loss goals. But in maintenance, you get to be more flexible. You're like, you know what? I'm going to have the chicken wings tonight. And guess what? Because I have a way of tracking things, I can see about how many calories are in that. I could actually see how many calories I consume when I want to enjoy a meal without thinking about calories. Okay, now I see what my body likes. That makes maintenance so much easier. It's why I don't really love the reverse dieting just being about eating more. It's what does a person actually want to eat more of? Where are they feeling really good? Okay, so I don't know if this episode resonated with anybody. If you're watching live, I'll kind of look over to see if there's any comments, which I probably missed a bunch. And I'll try and make sense of them the best that I can. But if this resonated with you and you feel stuck, but you also feel like you're ready to get unstuck, because at the end of the day, I don't care. If you're like me, you get a bunch of ads on Instagram and a bunch of ads on Facebook and through your emails, and it's like, oh, here's this, here's that, and you might click it because you're like, I'm interested. I'm a little bit interested in learning about this. No, you got to be ready. Hands down. If you are not ready, you're not going to change. It's going to be one more thing that you just dabble with. But I will tell you this, the readiness factor, it's a decision. It's not a feeling. It's not a, oh, it's going to all of a sudden feel easier when I don't have 3 vacations and this and that plan. No, you know what? Because if it's not that, it's going to be a holiday. It's going to be winter and you can't walk as much. It's going to be an injury in the gym. It's going to be you're sick. It's going to be your kids got this going on. It's going to be a number of things. You have to be ready to say, I want to get uncomfortable. And this is also why I do think that things like, even though I don't really agree with it, but like the 75 hard and those types of challenges help some people, because it's like, you know what, for this 75 days, I'm going all in on this. I'm going all in on this. In fact, I am even considering the people that signed up for my 21-day jumpstart accelerator, actually pivoting it into 90 days of accountability. I am considering doing something like that depending on who actually shows up, because I want to make sure I don't get bombarded with like 50 people. And now, as I talked about the scaling thing earlier, I want to make sure I'm delivering quality. So because I want you guys to see this shit through. Like, I want you guys to see the full transformation. No, you're not going to get to the end of your goal in 90 days, but I want you seeing what 90 days of actually being committed to yourself will look like. So I'm going to hop over to the comments and see if I missed anything. Let me kind of see if I missed anything. Nope. I do see some people still hopping on here. Does anybody have any questions or anything before I sign off? Or any questions about the accelerator program? I'm on here, so if you have questions about it, let me know. If you're on Instagram watching, or if you are on YouTube or Facebook, before I sign off. I wish that this platform would actually show my Instagram all on this main page too, but it doesn't. All right. Well, if you are listening to the replay on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or you are listening to it live or anything, and you guys have questions about the accelerator, just DM me. I'm going to use the whole DM accelerator just so I know what you're asking about. You can also reach out to me via email. There's also a link in the show notes for you guys to apply for the program and or set up a strategy call with me. So until the next episode, I will see you all later. Bye.